Hi, thanks for coming back to Real Estate Insiders. I'm Danny Poulos with the Elite Lending Team at Femby. Joining us now is Cindy Ragen, and she's not only a realtor and real estate agent, but she's also a specialist in renovations, and that's what she knows and loves and is going to share with us today. So Cindy, tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing what you've been doing, and
Thank you
we'll get right
for
into it.
having me. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I am a real estate agent, but I also have a passion for renovations. I have been doing renovations since I was in college, and it's just something I love to do. So it's a privilege that I'm able to do that after I sell a property. It's a privilege for me to be able to renovate a property and make a beautiful home.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the work that Cindy's done, and it's absolutely amazing. So we're talking to the right person today. Now, let's up front make the distinction that we're talking about renovation as opposed to rehabs or rehabilitation, because some people think it means buying an old dilapidated house and getting it fixed up well enough to sell it to rent out. I've seen the type of work you're doing. It's more high-end luxury residences than it is that type of thing.
Right.
So it's renovations.
Right. My clients are end users, but this might be their vacation home, this might be a second home, a third home, and it's in a great location, but in the Palm Beach County area that I live in, the Gardens, Juno Beach, most of these properties are aged by now. They were built either in the 80s or the 90s, and it's time to renovate them. So often I will gut the whole house, or I will do a smaller renovation.
So it all starts out though with you've got a buyer,
Yes.
and you know the basics of what they're looking for, so in location and size and that kind of thing, but you're not going to be limited to just what you're able to look at on the market, because the way you explain it to me, you're sort of turning it into what they really want, right?
Exactly. I am very lucky because most of my business is referrals, so I am able to show people what I have done. And that's a great thing, because I have clients who say, we only live here 3 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year. Use my house if you want. Here's, so it's like having my own staged place for other clients to see my work and what I can do and what I have done.
So how do people decide whether it's something they want to renovate or not, or whether they just keep looking for the perfect house?
Well, a lot of times it comes down to the location.
Right.
There really isn't a perfect house.
Right.
You can make it a perfect house, but a lot of times people say, I want to live in this neighborhood, or I want to live on the ocean. But a lot of those properties are dated and aged, and you can live on the ocean. I can make it your dream getaway.
Right? I mean, really that's a big advantage, because they may be coming from another part of the country, just say, yeah, I want to live down on the beach, but they've got in their mind what this brand new beach house or condo looks like. Mm-hmm. And that's not what they're going to find every day on the market, right?
Right.
So you're going to find it and then move from there. Do the people normally know how much money they want to spend up front?
No, that's always, and there are people that it becomes a little bit of a joke sometimes, because people say, okay, I'm putting my wife on a budget.
Right.
You have to help me. So it's kind of like good cop, bad cop. Sometimes I'm put in that spot in between. But it's, sometimes I do have to limit people and say, no, wait a minute. You've spent X amount of dollars on this. You're going to sell it someday. We don't want to over-improve for the community,
right,
or for the unit, or, we want to be smart about our choices.
So it doesn't always go as smooth as it does in those TV shows.
Oh, never.
Where people say, okay, I have $351,050 to spend, and the guy figures out like that, well, here's what it's going to cost to acquisition and this much for renovation, and go. It's not so easy.
It would be really fun to go behind the scenes of those shows and see what happens, because it would be an eye-opener.
Right. I mean, so I would expect that budget changes over the process.
It does. And once you start opening walls up, and you
Right.
start opening up You tear out showers, you're making, you tearing out a bathtub, making it a shower, converting it. There are all kinds of things that you're going to come up with, or things that you didn't plan on, and that's okay.
So what do you think, outside of where you're completely gutting it and redesigning the house, what would you suggest is one of the most popular things to renovate that has the biggest impact?
The kitchen.
The kitchen.
Kitchen, always the kitchen. People have very high expectations of kitchens. They expect high-end appliances. They expect quality cabinets, quality materials, and that if there's only one thing you can do, I would start with your kitchen.
And I mean, I don't know anything about this stuff, but I think that when you go into a kitchen, something that's been newly renovated, the cabinets seem to me something that's really important. Is that the case?
I think I think when you start with quality, you are never regret that. 5 years, 10 years down the road, you want to do one renovation, and I believe in doing it right. I believe in doing it right the first time. So cabinets to me are key. You want to buy quality cabinets. Soft close hinges are important. A very strong, solid doors. Those are important because you're never going to be sorry that you bought a great cabinet.
Right, and I would expect the next thing is after that the choice of surfaces, right? Right,
and there's never a wrong choice. It's all based on what people want, and obviously granite is a stone slab, and a lot of people love the varieties, and there's so many varieties, and not one of them is the same, so that's a great choice. And then there's some other choices like silestone and Caesar stone, and those are also very popular.
Well, I think really you make a point when you talk about all these options that if someone's not working with somebody who knows the difference in everything, they may have just been in someone's house and said, "Oh, I love the way that looks, and that's what I want," but they don't know what the bad side might be of that choice. So having somebody like you aboard, which you're really a project manager for the whole thing, right?
Right, and I go in and I bring in my subcontractors. I have a whole team, and whichever way you're going with your renovation, if it's a higher end, I'm going to bring in maybe my carpenter who will be making custom cabinets. My last project at the beach, that's what we did. We did the custom cabinets, and they're spectacular. You can never go wrong with custom cabinets. And then you also don't have you don't have any lag time. You're not waiting for shipping. You don't have fillers. You don't have all those other things that you do with just a cabinet company that you order.
Right, and I think when you've got a specialist doing it, it's also important to know what has to happen first and next and next.
Right.
I mean, if I was doing it, it would be all, they'd have to be pulling things out to put new things in, because you got to do things in the right order, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to pull permits. They're almost every area that I'm in, it's important to pull permits, and it's important to have quality people working with you so that it's done to code. I'm very aware and conscious of making everything to code. It's important.
Do you think, I don't know, how often do people get involved in it and really run into things that they didn't plan on? They're always looking at what it's going to look like when it's finished, but once you start pulling things out, what can you run into that's...
Well, you run into all kinds of little things that can come up. Sometimes you've got to repair some dry rot. Sometimes you've got to repair a pipe. Sometimes you have to reinforce maybe a ceiling that was coming down. But those are minor. Those are not really big things. Those are just part of the challenge of doing a renovation.
Well, you mentioned something to me earlier about how important it was to do your inspections maybe up front.
Well, it is important to do an inspection because then you know what you're getting into. If a home has not been well maintained,
right,
and it's for sale at a pretty high cost, I'm going to go in and I'll probably bring my general contractor in, and we'll go through everything in that house. And, the price that we might ask is going to reflect that if you've not taken care of the house, because when I come in, we're going to have to do a bigger project.
And you're going to make two people aware of what the house needs, not just the buyer, but the seller.
Absolutely.
So does that play a part in the negotiations?
Absolutely.
Look at the way you're smiling like you can't wait to get it in your hands.
It's not always good for the seller, but the buyer needs to know what they're getting.
And if you're the person that does the inspection, you're making the seller aware.
I'm just helping. I don't do the inspection.
Right.
I'm just helping oversee, and I'm understanding what the issues might be when we do the renovation.
Right, I meant like initiating the inspection. So once you've made the seller aware of all the things you've found, it's sort of putting you in a more powerful position, I would expect. And,
yes, it is.
Just the way you're smiling about that whole thing, it's like you can't wait to make an offer with an inspection in your hand.
I'm sorry, but it is a good spot to be in.
And I would expect that without that, people that try to just go off and do this on their own, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made if this isn't your life.
Right.
It's something you do every day.
Right.
So, Cindy, take a minute, tell everybody how they can reach you if they have questions about renovating or they're buying and selling. And really a point I don't want to leave without making is it's a different type of shopping when they're working with you as an agent, because where it would be typical, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, it would be typical to just look for the right house. It's different when they're shopping with you, because you're really saying, okay, look for where you want to live, maybe as much space as you need, maybe looking at some lifestyle issues, and then adding a bunch of options on to that offer that don't even exist if they're not working with someone who's a renovation specialist, which is what you are. So I want everyone to keep that in mind. It's really a different way of buying a home. So tell everybody how they can reach you.
My name is Cindy Ragen. My management company that I do my renovations with is Specialty Property Management. I can be reached at 561-904-3190. My email address is my name, CindyRagen@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for coming in. I think you're going to get a lot of calls about this.
This was great. Thank you.